Welcome to the HYROX Heroes podcast. I am your host, Damien Voda, and let's get into the episode. Today, I am coming to you with a very special episode here where we're going to talk about today how to balance strength training and running when it comes to training for HYROX. So if you don't know who I am totally, my name is Damien Voda. I am the founder here at HYROX Heroes and being dedicated to helping people now complete and finish HYROXs all around the world. And one thing that has become really, really clear this year. So this year I've trained the most people and we've had the most people do and complete HYROX. And one thing that is emerging when looking at the top people. So you're looking at the top athletes in HYROX competing all around the world and like the elite 15s are even saying this, is we're starting to understand that there is not one way to train for HYROX. There's not just one perfect way. And because let's face it, let's overview what it is to do a HYROX. Like you need to be aerobically fit, in particular at the running, right? You need to be a great runner. 8 kilometers running plus rock zones, it's close to 9 kilometers total distance. Then let's just throw in to the mix 8 fitness stations. So the demands of aerobic capacity, your ability to run is, a huge part of the equation, but then also your ability to do the stations, to move heavy sleds, to keep posture, technique, efficiency. These things really are contributed not by your aerobic capacity, but by your strength, right? How much can your muscles endure? How much can fatigue, how can they perform while still under fatigue? So there is an equal importance to it. So what we're going to talk about is that balance, right? How can you understand where you're at, what you should be focusing on to get this balance right? And I guess like what this means for different fitness levels. If you're a beginner, if you're an intermediate, advanced, I believe there's different focuses that we need to be focusing on. So let's dive into this really, really important and I think really cool topic of finding the balance between running and strength training. Okay, so first of all, right, I think we got to look at the different stages, right? The different stages. So again, that beginner, that intermediate, that advanced athlete, right? What's important to them? Now, a lot of people that I train who are beginners, who are doing HYROX for the first time, and this could be you, right? One of the biggest concerns is I'm not a runner, right? Like that is would have to be one of the biggest things that a lot of people say is I'm not a runner. I'm not good at running. I need to do more running. Once I can run more, then something like HYROX is going to be really good for me, right? Now, when people start to run, right, there's a lot of other problems that can come with running. So there can be shin splints. There can be how the heel strikes the ground. There can be pains in the hips. There can be pain and stress and loading that happens through the body. And a lot of this can sometimes be contributed, right, to them not running at all. Hence why they're not a runner and they're not getting into it, right? So what is the first thing? If you go to your physio, right? If you go to your physio, what does the physio say to you or recommend to you straight away? You've got a pain, you tried the run, you got a shin splint, you got pain in the hip. Does he say, awesome, let's run to fix that running injury or to fix that pain? Absolutely not. Your physio will go, okay, what we need to do is we need to strengthen and we need to strength train those areas, right? Those areas. So just taking that as an idea, an ideology, is we got to understand that fundamentally strength training is a core foundational pillar that then we can then build upon to do other various movements, including running. So fundamentally, I would say, if we are super weak and don't have strength, right? This could even be like, if you think about, if you've seen someone or been in hospital yourself, right? Touch wood never happens. But if you've been in that position, I've been in that position. I had pneumonia years ago now. I was bedridden for 2 weeks. So what's the first thing that absolutely goes out the door, right? It's like your strength. Like I struggled to walk to the toilet. So we got to understand that, like, without strength, you literally could not even stand up and walk and stand tall, right? So to say that aerobic training and running should be like the number one key thing to a beginner, like, I would dare say it's not the main thing. So hopefully this can highlight to you the importance of strength training, not only to make progress, but also, right, for those people who are not runners, and for those people who don't feel like they don't possess that running, talent yet. If you are strength training and if you do have a level of strength, you are actually more ready to take on HYROX than you know, because it's a long event. And again, if you're trying to set a record or if you're trying to podium, okay, you got to get good at running. We'll talk about that with the advance. But to just get there and complete the race and to go for an hour and a half or 2 hours, right? I dare say it's going to call on to your ability to have muscular endurance, to have strength, right? And that will play a huge pivotal role in completing HYROX, right? So not only will that be the thing that will help you get through the stations, but that will be the thing that keeps you upright for 2 hours is your ability strength. So your aerobic capacity is not the thing that needs to be amazing. And a lot of people, if you're looking at HYROX, you have an interest in functional training, I dare say, in some way. So that's why you would still have an aerobic capacity, because maybe your aerobic capacity comes from ski ergs, from rowing, from doing high interval, group high interval intensity group training, all that HIIT training, or F45 or BodyFit or CrossFit. So again, we're just sort of pinpointing your running ability to say that's why I'm not good at HYROX, but that's actually not the thing that is absolutely like essential, right, for a beginner to move forward with, right? So again, I'm relating back to finding the balance, because a lot of us, we put the bias and the balance all onto one side and we say it's running. If I'm not good at running, then I'm not good at HYROX, or I'm not ready for HYROX. So again, I want us to restore that. Now, I'm not saying for a beginner if you should not run or running is not important. Absolutely not. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to say, hey, I actually think, when we're trying to find balance in our training and we're trying to find what are the things I should be working on first when I'm trying to get ready for HYROX, right? I would almost say 60%, right? And I would love your thoughts and opinions on this too. 60%, just as an estimate, should be on strength training, right? Should be on strength-based training, right? So that could be, just controlled isolations. It could also be high intensity interval style training like circuit training, or functional type workouts that are strength based, right? And then I would say 40%, right, should then be focused on your aerobic conditioning, your running technique, your running ability, right? So that is actually one way we want to look at it. So, and again, because a lot of people I see that move into the HYROX space is they can neglect the strength training. So then they're going, I need to get good at running. Then they hit the wall, like I said earlier. They get either shin splints, or they get hip pain, or they get glute pain, or the stress on the body. They can't handle the capacity, because it's their capacity of their strength as well that will be letting them down. So that can be really great news for you, because to get good and to move forward, you don't actually need to initially do a lot of running, right? So I'm going to talk about what I think now here for the let's just keep talking about that beginner. So when it comes to running and finding that balance, the first thing that you need to do is you need to be able to do like slow, long runs, right? We call it zone 2, keeping that heart rate down, right? It's like 60 to 70% of your max heart rate. So it's a very slow and controlled pace. That's the first thing you need to achieve. Now, for some people, a long run could be 20 minutes. A long run could be 40 minutes. A long run could be 60 minutes. But what we do have to understand, and this is the reality of the event you're choosing to do, is you're potentially going to be out there for 90 minutes, right? 90 minutes. So if 20 minutes is the max run you can do, right? Like, you then have to really work your way to 60 plus minutes. That has to be a goal. So that's where, just, I guess, being realistic with your timelines and what you want to achieve. And that's why as well, other problems that we can face with beginners is if they have a short timeline, right? And then they put a bias towards doing a lot of running, right? Because that's the thing that needs the most improving. But then your ability to adapt, right, to handle the load, to handle the capacity, just can't, like, your body just can't keep up with that timeline, right? And this is where injuries and problems will occur. So that's why, as much as you want to rush your way to progress, you have to remember that if I'm a beginner, strength and running is important, and these things must be balanced in order to me make progress. So, maybe that can help you set an expectation to be like, well, I'm gonna find this balance, right? But then I can only be as ready as I possibly can be in this amount of time, and that's okay. And I'm just going to do the best with that. And this is going to be my first HYROX, and then I'm going to continue this training, and I'm only going to get better and better and better from here. So I really, really hope that we can start to understand, what your goal is. If it's a one-off event, or is this something you want to continue to do and be part of? So to think a little bit more long-term. Okay. When it comes to strength training for the beginner type person, right? Strength training, it shouldn't be plyometrics. It shouldn't be jumping around and doing box jumps and doing all this like really high intensity interval training. Like I said, doing just the extremes of functional training. You need to start with just doing slow controlled movements. Like you need to be just doing back squats at tempo, bench press, like doing your typical, let's call it like bodybuilding type movements, a mixture of isolations, compounds. So isolations, just, isolating one body part, and then also doing compounds that work on multiple body parts. But you got to establish control first, right? Because if we can't build strength in a controlled manner, then we can't or the body then can't apply that to more powerful, more explosive, more dynamic situations, right? So it's like saying, if I can't walk, how the hell am I going to sprint, right? So you got to be able to walk before you jog. You got to be able to jog before you can sprint, right? So this is what we really need to understand with strength training as well, is you might be just doing a lot of work in like group fitness studios, right? And you're wondering why you get injured, or you're wondering why you got pain when you run, or you're wondering why you're not getting stronger. And it's because you sort of skipped the step of, hey, can I actually do like, X amount of weight on a back squat, slower controlled, and have I been doing that consistently, right? Because the reality is, for a lot of guys and girls, these are some really rough sort of strength numbers of human potential, not what I'm telling you should be doing, but human potential. So like our deadlift is like 2.5 times our body weight for one rep. Our back squat is 2 times our body weight, and our bench press is 1.5 times our body weight, right? These aren't my numbers. These are like just based on some textbooks, some studies that we learn doing PT and coaching courses and that. So that's an idea of human potential. So if you're a female who's, you're 65 kilos and your back squat is only like 30 kilos, and it's common because I know I coach a lot of you girls that do that, 30 kilos, 35 kilos, and that's a heavy back squat, there's a good chance you're not doing enough strength training, hence why that feels really heavy. And these are the girls and the guys too that are doing a lot of like strength training, like functional training, group classes, but they've got a really submaximal base of strength, right? And it's like, how do you get stronger? But I'm doing all the classes, yeah, but we're just not doing enough strength training. Like guys, I see a lot of guys 75, 80 kilos, right? And they're doing 60 kilo back squats. Like it's 2 times body weight, right? So again, I'm not saying you got to be all the way there, but I'm just saying like the discrepancy, right? People wonder why they lack some of these foundations, because they're nowhere near where they could be, because they're just not, they're skipping a step. Anyone who's listening to this who comes from a strength background would just be nodding their head going, yes, thank God someone is reiterating this importance, right? But again, for HYROX, do you need to be able to, go to those extremes? No, but you need to be closer, or you need to start just taking the principle from it initially. Okay. All right. So that's finding some balance there for the beginner. Now let's sort of look into the intermediate, right? So you've got that strength. You've got some zone 2, you've got some aerobic capacity. How does this thing keep balancing out for you? Now, I think at that point, right? You really got to now start to understand who you are. And this is why I said right at the start, there's not one way exactly to train for HYROX. Even me with the beginner analogy, that's really just assuming, these beginner problems, right? I'm just sort of bucketing people, the majority into that bucket, but that's not everybody. Absolutely not. But intermediate, again, it's a little bit more broad again, because people have different backgrounds. So this is where, you have people that have ran their whole life. They've played competitive sports. They've played football, played basketball. They've done marathons in the past. So this person, right, if we think of the sport of HYROX, they've got some sort of base in running, right? Probably aerobic capacity, right? Maybe their strength training. If they look at their ability to push a sled at the weight, pull a sled, to maintain the strength output, the power output, right, might be lower, right, to that individual. So that person now has to go, okay, my bias, right, and then what I need to balance out, because I can't just do strength training because I'm just so good at running. And also, I'm not just going to continue just to smash running because that's what I'm good at, right? Exactly. And that's the problem with a lot of people. We tend to just do the things that we're good at, right? More and more so. So then the things we're not so good at become less good again. So that person needs to put a little bit more of an emphasis into strength training, right? So establish that controlled strength, then learn to apply that in more fast-paced, right, situations, and then experience more fatigue with that as well, right? So that person might need to now, do 60% of that kind of training. So, it might be 1 or 2 controlled sessions and then 1 really dynamic HYROX sort of base workout, again, depending on the individual. And that person then needs to go, okay, I'm still going to do my running. I'm going to do my zone 2 run, and then maybe a quicker run, like a tempo run, something more specific. So it's almost like a 2 to 3 ratio, 2 on the run sessions, 3 on the strength. See how we're slightly biased towards that thing that person needs to improve. And then just the other way, you come from a strength background, right? You've done CrossFit, you're really strong, you're 90 kilos, you need to lose a little bit of weight. Your running's okay, right? That person, this is why, again, we got to look at the individuals, and it's so important. That person there, clearly, all right, you know what? You're actually too strong for HYROX. Like, you can do all these big cleans, you can do all these, doing lots of strength training. You're probably slightly too heavy because you're 90 kilos, and just being 5 kilos lighter will make you so much quicker, right? So that person, you can see, needs to do an extra run. So long, slow run, maybe a tempo run, maybe, again, another interval style run or hill type run. So that person now is doing like 3 types of runs a week, right? And maybe 2 core strength sessions, example, right? So see how this starts to balance out and is going to be a really, really good approach to moving forward, okay? So let's just talk advanced, right? Now we're talking the higher end. And this is important for everyone to listen to and to understand, because we have to understand that beginners and advanced people train totally different. And so they should. And if you're following or trying to train like an advanced elite person and you're a beginner, you're gonna fail miserably. I guarantee it, because they're totally different. And what this is, right? So now these advanced people, it's not just their fitness level that's advanced. What makes someone advanced elite at the sport of HYROX is they are very specific and very good at what they do. So now we got to fully understand, okay, do I need to be super strong for HYROX? Well, no, you don't. Like, you need to be strong enough to push a 200 kilo sled fast for the guys, 150 for the girls, right? You need to be strong enough to pull a 150 kilo sled, 100 kilo sled for the girls. Like, that's the level of your strength, right? I need to be able to lunge a 30 kilo, 20 kilo sandbag. I need to be able to do 100 wall balls. So you see, they understand how strong they need to be, right? Now, what's the one biggest thing that, yes, we understand with HYROX, and it is so true. And if you do this and you're really good at it, you're going to be an elite level competitive person in sport of HYROX. And it is your ability to run. You got to run, and you got to run fast. I've done 3 HYROXes now. We're coming into the 4th. I got my 5th one next year in Feb. And as I'm improving and as I'm getting closer to, so I think me and my mixed doubles partner, we got 7th in our age group twice, right? We're 64 seconds away from being sub 60 in our mixed doubles time. And our strength, I think our strength, there was one other couple that actually had a faster overall strength time than us. So our strength was really good, but our runs were so, like, that's where the most improvement is. So the data is clear that the top people are all fast runners. I have not seen one person come in the top 10 that if you looked at that person, were not like a fantastic runner. I haven't seen it. Like I haven't seen like a person who was just so extremely strong, right? And their strength was such a strength that they were able to achieve like a top 5 finish or a podium finish with an average run. Doesn't exist, right? Haven't seen it. So that's why we got to understand that running, and that's why the importance of running is so important. But again, if you zoom back out to the beginner and then the intermediate, see, you got to develop your way to that point. You got to develop it. So that person, the elite person, I dare say, and they would be elite in a lot of ways. Their volume, their capacity, their training. So they might be doing 3 to 4 runs a week, and they might be doing, anywhere between 2 or 3, even 4 strength training sessions, a mixture between controlled and high intensity interval style training, or HIIT training, or HYROX style training, all that kind of stuff. So see, we got to understand the differences there. And if you are advanced, if you are listening to this, it's like it's so clear where you got to put your energy towards. So like even myself, the reality is like I really want to do my best with HYROX. I want to be competitive in the sport of HYROX. So I've just had to go, you know what? I have to become a good runner. And that's what I did. So since Brisbane, Brisbane was in August. We're now, in November. And my training literally went from a very sort of even balance to now it's like, 75 or 70% run-based program and a 30% sort of functional strength-based program. And because that was the area that I need to now get to that sort of, more advanced elite sort of side of things, right? So that's how I got to understand the differences. But when I did my first HYROX last year in December, it was my first time ever. I did men's pro. I got like an hour 15-ish, something like that. I can't remember exactly, which was quite a good time. And that was me just coming into it very balanced, doing a lot of strength training, doing some cardio, still got a good time, right? But again, if you want to get a great time, see how you got to progress your way. So if you're just someone who wants to go there, you want to have fun with HYROX, you want to do your best, right? You just got to be real with where you're at. And this is how you have to understand the balance when it comes to your training, right? And if failure to do this, right, failure to sort of understand these principles of beginner, intermediate, advanced, and how to balance this will result in either burnout, it will result in injury, it will result in decreased performance, right? It will result in just you having a tough mental time trying to push your way in an area that's not going to give you the return, right? Like it's very demoralizing. There's a lot of things like this. So yeah. So that's why when we look at our programming and our structures, what we provide to all our clients that we work with is when we look at our design of our program and we understand these principles, is we just then try keep things really, really simple. We don't overcomplicate it. We then go, okay, you got to focus on this, not so much on this, and just do the work. That's all it is. You just got to make progress slowly. A lot of people, again, they want to rush the system and they start to overcomplicate the system. It's like you got to do a zone 2 long, slow run. Like that's it. There's no don't go straight to I got to do hill runs and I got to do this tempo. And there was this like special technique of like if I keep my heart rate here and then I do this and that. It's like no, you can't like biohack the body. It's like you just got to do the principles and do it well. Just don't overcomplicate it. Don't overcomplicate your routine and just trust the process. Just trust, have faith that by doing the work, right, and just being consistent that you will get there, right? I heard this quote this morning and I thought it was fantastic. And, it said, a focused fool can do more than a distracted genius, right? How cool is that? So basically, if you quote unquote, a focused fool, like if you're someone that's not that smart, you don't understand. And that's the thing. It's like a lot of people doing HYROX. You don't have to be a sports scientist. You don't have to be a personal trainer. You don't have to be a coach to sort of understand that, hey, like it's quite simple. If I just focus on this, right, I'm going to get a really great result. And that's one thing that we also see in this complex HYROX, there's multiple modalities and things that you can focus on, is some people overcomplicate it. And they're smart. They're really smart, but they're overcomplicating it and they're getting a poor result, right? So really focus on that. One of our slogans here at HYROX Heroes, and something that we're very proud of, because we know we come from this experience. We've got like 17 years coaching, 17 years, like even longer, like 30, 20 plus years of doing sports, all the rest. Is we've got to understand that along the way, on the process, right, it's just progress over perfection, right? A lot of us are trying to get it so right, right? And we're trying to change it all the time because we're trying to find that perfect thing. It doesn't exist, right? That's why you just got to make progress, and you just got to look to your actual results. So it could be in training. Are you getting faster? Are you getting stronger? And a lot of us, even though the results are there and we can see them, we go off our feelings. Oh, but I feel like I should be doing more. I feel like I'm behind. This is just our emotions as a human. This is our emotions taking over, right? It's not actually what's going on. But then also, if we can be more conscious of progress instead of perfection, because you could be smashing yourself and feeling like I'm killing training, I'm doing everything I can, but you're actually not making progress, right? And that's the downside to it, is you're not actually moving forward. So, and if you get stuck in that mindset, right, then it's really, really hard to slow down. It's really hard to take a step back and to do something more simple, because you're just so used to overcomplicating it. Because it might have got you a quick result, but now stop giving you that result, stop giving you that return. That's also a really dangerous spot to be in as well. And that's why balancing this is really, really, really important. So progress over perfection. That's all we want. Keep it simple. Just do the work. Don't overcomplicate it. There's no magic way to do anything. There's no special secret technique that anyone can tell you. It is really simple concepts done really well is what's going to help you with your training. So guys, by now, hopefully you are an expert in understanding how to balance your running and your strength training, right? As always, if you've got questions, you can always reach out to us. How you can do that is we actually have a free HYROX group called HYROX Heroes. You can join it for free. In there, we post workouts, we post discussions, people post questions. That's where you can definitely reach out. You can contact me personally. And then if you're wanting something that's, if you're wanting structure, if you're wanting a program, if you're going, hey, okay, I just want to get told what to do. I want you to help me to find out that balance, and for us just to give you that path forward in a proven way that we know, right, to get more guidance. We also do more coach calls specific to race prep, training, nutrition, strategies, everything to get you dialed in for HYROX. If that is something you also want to do, we also have a paid community. So HYROX Heroes, it's our paid group. We now have a 7-day free trial, so you can get in there, you can have a look around, you can get started, and if it's not for you, you can cancel. It's as simple as that. So guys, we have options for you to help, but if not, we have our podcast. You can just keep listening to these podcast episodes. This is also going to be posted on YouTube, so you can watch us on YouTube. Social media, we've got content. Anyway, as long as we're helping you in some way be 1% better every day, we are doing our job. Guys, until then, keep training hard, and I'll see you on the next platform somewhere. All right, guys. Goodbye.
Recording stopped.